Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Showtime in the D podcast. I'm your host, Chris Langlois.
And I'm Mike Slipchuk.
And here we are. The official title of the episode couldn't be more fitting for me because summer is here. Thank God.
You lucky bastard.
67 days of no work. We'll learn.
Yeah, but who's counting?
It's not me. Well, once we hit August, I'll stop counting. It's like a long Sunday.
Yeah. But speaking of summers, we are hopeful that this is going to be a big productive summer for Red Wings general manager Steve Yzerman.
Yeah.
With either trades, free agent, drafting, but namely free agents.
Something.
Give us something. Give the fans something.
I've been sitting here this week, bored, waiting for the school year to end. And every time I check my phone, there's stuff happening around the league. And I'm sitting there thinking, why, Steve? Where are you? Where's Steve? Like, you know.
Yeah. First, the Zegers trade.
Right.
Which not get much given up Ryan Poehling in a draft pick.
Yeah.
And then followed up by, most recently this morning, late last night, JJ Paterka from Buffalo to Utah. And it's like, that's all they give up.
Right. The only thing I can think of is like, he knows like something. He's something that's going to be better because he knows he has to upgrade this team. Like he can't possibly think he's going to go into next year and just play it over again, hoping for a better result, right? He knows he has to upgrade the team. So, if that's all you had to give up for Zegras and you didn't, it's because you have something better that's coming.
I would think so too.
Hopefully.
Because we're in a position now with the Red Wings, we've stockpiled a ton of picks, and we have a ton of prospects in the system that still have not made their way in the NHL, but they're itching. They're right there, ready to hit the NHL. That we're in a position where we can afford to, give up some of these assets to acquire, already NHL players. So, maybe he is confident that, I'm not saying Mitch Marner's for sure going to become a Red Wing, but maybe there's something along those lines, or Nikolai Ehlers, or someone that's really going to be a better option than what these players or the players that have been traded that we've talked about.
Yeah. So today we are going to do a draft outlook on some possible players that might fall to Detroit's range at number 13, since the draft is tomorrow night. Hopefully this is the last year we even have to care about drafts. Like, I've been saying that for 4 years, but then we'll talk about some recent trade rumors, trades that have happened. Then we'll touch on free agency, some wishes that we hope for, and things that we think realistically would improve our team some substantially. And then a nice little surprise at the end about Hockeytown. Before we get started, I will give a shout out. You see this little logo in the top right corner. It's actually one of the little dorks in grade 5 made that pretty creatively. So thank you, Fabrizio, or Fabricio, as I like to call him.
Yeah, buddy, thanks so much. When Chris showed me the logo, I was quite impressed. Job well done, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, we still hate the Habs, though, so...
But I'll call you by your normal name, Fabrizio. Chris will give you the gears by calling you Fabrizio. But yeah, thanks a lot. The logo looks great.
At the fun day at our school, he was like helping me at the soccer station, and like I had every class calling him Fabrizio. It was really funny. I mean, like that. Just like I call Lane Hudson, Lame Hudson.
Lame Hudson.
Lame Hudson. It's okay. Sandy and Pellico will make him look silly in a couple years. So.
All right.
All right, let's get to
full swing
draft.
into this.
So we are drafting the 13th overall. Do you think there's any chance he moves that pick? Before we even get into any of the players, do you think A, he trades up? Is that an option? Or B, is it possible he uses that pick to make some sort of trade?
The only way he would trade up is if he were to get into the top 3. He's not going to trade up to get, unless like if he
Unless Michael
really is
Misa fell to 4 or 5. Four probably.
correct,
So yeah.
correct, then I can see him. That's what I mean. For a top three draft caliber player, when I say that, like a Schaefer, Michael Misa, and I can't remember who was three on the list. Who was three? Who do they have as the mock? Sorry, it
I
was
just
Michael
have the one.
Misa.
The
It was Michael Misa, Matt Schaefer,
Schaefer.
and here it is. Give me one sec. Um, Anton Frundell. So if it was like a top three, top four caliber draft type of player, then I could see him trading up. If not, he's not going to trade up for like a sixth, seventh, eighth, because it's not a super deep draft. Um, or if he's real, like a lot of rumors are saying that he's high. The Red Wings are really high on Eklund. If he had an opportunity to maybe nab him, I could see that. But realistically, at this point, Chris, I personally think that they're going to use this first round pick in a trade package. I think they're out of position to do so. As from a
Yeah.
roster standpoint, prospect pool standpoint, yeah,
Well, and if Eiserman is not very confident that he can land someone like Mitch Marner, then he has to go the trade route. Like at this point, you have zero choice but to improve this team now,
yep,
because like your
yep,
players are getting frustrated. Your fan base is crazily frustrated, and it's
yep,
your
and you're going,
centennial year.
yep, you're waltzing into
You
the
you
centennial year,
you know Chris Ilitch wants to make money on that.
and you haven't made the playoffs since 2016. So, people's patience, as we've talked about in previous episodes, is wearing thin with the Iser plan.
Yeah.
Um, so he knows that. And you know what? Like, I know we didn't necessarily agree with how Larkin handled the post-season press conference, but there I can see why he is frustrated.
Oh,
He
for sure.
wants to see this team take actual steps forward, not we're going to increase our standings by 2 or 3, 4 points. No, we need to make the
Well, they
playoffs
didn't
and
even
we
do
need to
that.
be
They actually
strong.
regressed. So
They regressed this
I
year,
think
correct?
Eiserman. I think he knows. Like like I said, if he's not in the running for a top free agent, I think he has to go the trade route. And
Yep,
to acquire any sort of substantial player, you're trading your first round pick, and
yep.
this is the year to do it. We have a 13th overall pick. I like Victor Eklund. Like he's probably the one I'm the highest on, but I don't think he makes it to 13th. I know
I
some
mean,
mock drafts have him falling to 13th, but I don't see it. If they're really high on him, maybe if he's still there at number 11, maybe they trade up. Like if there's no
if
other
a
trade they have in
better
the works.
trade deal that doesn't come along for an
Right.
actual NHL player.
Right.
Yeah, and then I did see a lot of mock drafts where he falls or he goes at 12 with the Pittsburgh Penguins, Victor Eklund.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with regards to the draft, um, obviously it sounds like Matt Schaefer's probably going to go number one
Yeah.
overall. Stud defenseman, fantastic. Can't really say a bad thing about this pick. So we do see the New
Other than
York
it's going to
Islanders.
the Islanders.
Yeah, I know. He's going to a. I hate to. Sorry, you Islanders fans out there. Pretty big rotting pit, but somehow they got the first overall. But we do anticipate Schaefer to go first, and then Michael Misa second overall. Which, speaking of Michael Misa, so that'll go to San Jose. Sorry, two over second. Um, what a crime that he didn't make Team Canada. Still, like the World Junior team.
I
I
know.
still cannot believe that
Well,
last
and just
Christmas.
think of the performance that World Junior team had.
Well, they
That's
back to back years
that's
losing.
another topic in itself. Hockey Canada is
Yeah,
stupid in so many
back
ways.
back to back losses to the same team, which was the Czech Republic in the
Yeah.
quarterfinals.
Yeah.
But and then a lot of insiders are predicting. So Michael Misa number two to San Jose Sharks. So that'll be fantastic for them. They got Macklin Celebrini last year, number one overall. They have Will Smith. They have William Eklund, and then they add another stud forward in Michael Misa.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, a lot of Chicago drafts three, and a lot of people are predicting Anton Frundell forward. But at this point, Chris, I know we were talking before this. Steve Eiserman as a GM has always preached like draft the best player available. But at this point, if he doesn't elect to trade his 13th overall pick, I personally think they should go for a forward and not a defense pick because, as we've talked about, our defensive prospect pool is stacked, and we have a lot of inventory there. Sider's already in the system. Evanson, Axel Sandy Pellica, hopefully making the team out of the gate this year. William Walliner in the system. They re-signed Tua Misto this year to a 1-year deal, and there's the names go on and on.
The only caveat to that is if we happen to sign a big free agent forward, and Eiserman isn't able to land a top four defenseman left. Like everybody talks about
Left.
Ekblad, for example, great, but that doesn't solve our left side problem. Where, I mean, should you want to play Edmondson and Sider together, you have no suitable top four left defensemen. If you like, Ben Sherratt on a really good team is on the third pair. We've talked about this to death.
Yeah, good shutdown third pairing defenseman.
Right? So
plays his
if,
role.
say we get Marner, I really want us to. Say we do, but we don't get a defenseman, a top defenseman. Maybe then they feel comfortable, we're going to draft a defenseman. Fine. I get that. But you're drafting 13th overall, that defenseman ain't playing in Detroit for probably 2 years.
And knowing the way they over-ripen their prospects,
I mean, it's been 2 years since Sandin Pellica got drafted.
It could even be, and that's his ceiling's high. So this type of defenseman, it could be 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. Some names. So some names that will fall potentially to Detroit. First one we talked about already, Victor Eklund. He's Swedish. I mean, the Red Wings never go wrong.
He can forecheck.
He's a smaller forward, but he works extremely hard. He wins his board battles. He had an excellent showing at the World Juniors. He was one of Sweden's best players, actually. He was an energy guy. He was shooting the pucks. He was winning board battles, creating energy, cycling the puck. Good hands. He's got some good offense. I think he would turn into a nice playoff type player. To complement guys like Casper, Raymond, those guys who will be, with us for the long haul once we get into our playoffs.
Yep.
Another one is the center, Roger McQueen. He could potentially fall out of the top 10. He was headed for top 5 draft status, but he had a back injury for a lot of time this season. So with a back injury, teams are a little bit more skeptical of what you're going to get. But he's 6'5".
And the Red Wings need some size on that top 6.
Yes. So here's a nice stat. He's 6'5". He was out producing Nate Danielson in the 23-24 season on the same team as an underager.
Okay.
So
I did not know that. That's news to me.
I didn't know that either.
Impressive.
So that's a pretty good stat because Nate Danielson is like a topic of a lot of conversation amongst Red Wings fans right now in terms of do we keep him or do we package him up in a trade for a bona fide good, like really good player? Because we know Casper's good. If we can get another really good player now, do we need Danielson? Right? But if this Roger McQueen was out producing him, maybe the Red Wings take that risk. Yes, there's the back injury, but there's more offense than what Danielson potentially could provide. So it's hard to say. Another one. Sorry?
We're going to say Carter Bear?
That was going to be my next, after the next one.
I didn't mean to interrupt then. Keep going. You're on a roll.
The next is defenseman Jackson Smith. He's listed as the fourth best top defenseman of the draft. Um, he's good puck transporter. He's good at skating. He's physical. He has offensive tools, but it's not like he's going to be a power play defenseman. He's going to be a reliable, steady defenseman. He can move the puck, play with an
Probably rounds out
edge.
your kind of guy that rounds out your top four, maybe your
Right.
fourth defenseman on when the Red Wings are
Potentially,
willing to
yeah.
ready to
Yeah.
compete.
Yeah. He would round out the other first round defenseman we have with Sider, Edmondson, Sandin Pellikka. So, I mean, that would potentially give us a really strong top four, 4 years from now. In the meantime, we'll have a really good top three.
Almost reminds you of like a Brad Stewart
Yes.
back in the '07, '08, '09 days, or no, sorry,
Yes.
'08, '09 days, and then early 2010s.
Oh, and
Um,
the other thing, he's 6'4". So
yep,
again, this goes back to the topic. Long term, if say they drafted a guy like him and he reaches potential, what are they looking at for their pairs? Are they gonna put Edmondson and Sider together, and then you'd have Jackson Smith, say, and then Sandin Pellikka, because that gives Sandin Pellikka some size to play with him, 6'4", right? Or do they, you
let
know,
Sandy Pellica be creative, or like skate with the puck,
right?
you know, and rush the play where he can kind of stay
Yeah.
at home, kind of cover
Or
his ass,
or
right?
do they split Sider and Edmondson up and play Sandin Pellikka with Edmondson, and then Smith with Sider? It's hard to say.
Yeah,
Me, I remember
mind you,
back in the
mind
day,
you,
Mike Babcock played Lidstrom and Rafalski together the first year, and the second year he did, but then he also sometimes put Stewart with Lidstrom and then Cronwall with Rafalski,
Rafalski.
which irritated me actually. Now that I think about it, anyways, it's a different topic. Gives Detroit options, um, so I
But
wouldn't be
mind you, if
opposed to
that
that.
if that D man's drafted, that this is also 2, 3,
Yes,
maybe 4 years out,
yeah.
anyways. Yeah,
Like you said, there's no guarantee that Sandine Pelika will make the team based on how stupid our team can be. We'll leave it there. um, Speaking of which, I believe training camp is potentially going to be in Detroit this year, not Traverse City.
we're going to that.
Yeah,
We
we are.
got we
So
got
we
to
are,
go.
and I'm gonna make a
Especially,
sign just like we did at that one game. Remember the one where I got told um, can't do that.
even though the
Anyways.
'97 won the ticket guy, Mike Rieger loved it.
Do you know how many people stopped for a picture when they saw that sign?
Oh yeah,
That was
it was
hilarious.
incredible.
Coach
Yeah,
Q.
it was back in the day when Lalonde was still coaching our team,
Coach
and
Q. That maybe that helped them
we
get
wanted
back in the NHL.
we were pushing for Quinville to get hired.
Yeah,
But
shout out to Coach
yeah,
Q.
so that's that defensive prospect
Yeah.
or possible pick.
Next is left wing Carter Bear.
Yep,
Um,
can play center too.
yeah, he had. He'd be good in the top six in the future. He has some snarl. He can score goals. He's got good hands. And what the Red Wings like in players is the work ethic. He has a good work ethic.
Yep.
So that's kind of an Iserman Draper guy. So like the thing, like you're not gonna get like the super high end skill again. This is the problem with the Red Wings being mediocre, right? You're getting these middle of the road draft picks, which you know,
They're not going to be. I mean, they could develop into superstars. You never know how their career
yeah,
transpires, but realistically, they're going to be. You'll be lucky if you get 60, 70 points out of these guys.
yeah,
Um, even if 70, 75, but like that would be a huge win drafting at this stage of the game.
yeah.
And
So
the other one I was going to say was Justin Carbonneau, similar kind of player to Carter Bear a little bit. Little bit more size. He's listed at 6'1", and a beefier guy. And he shoots right, which is always a premium. We like our right-handed shot forwards and defensemen. That also could be a possibility. Yet, like I said, another forward, and he strictly plays right wing.
yeah. So I mean, again, all those players are similar in the sense that none of them are going to come into Detroit in the next year or two, right?
No,
They're going to be future building blocks. that'll come in,
or trade pieces.
or trade pieces. So we'll see. I mean, after the draft and free agency period is over, we'll do another episode and debrief and either complain or party because
My God, this is a big
I'm ready to party.
week. This is a big week for the Red Wings
Yeah.
organization, and honestly, this is a big week for Red Wings fans because outside of me and you, I know so many of my other buddies that are diehard Wings fans that are anxiously awaiting what's going to transpire this week. Is there going to be a buyout? Which free agents are we going to get? Because free agency starts July 1st.
If we sign Marner, I will cry.
Trades. I know. Or
I'll
is there
cry.
going to be trades?
Yeah.
Nothing's happened yet.
I
We've
read an
mentioned
article. Who was it? I think it was Elliot Friedman came out today and said he wouldn't be surprised if the Red Wings were to deal Andrew Kopp, which kind of came out of left field because there was. But here's what I always say. I was saying it to my principal actually a couple days ago. Whenever you hear a rumor about the Red Wings, it's almost never true because there's no rumors; it just happens. That's how Iserman
correct.
operates. Um, is
Yeah,
there?
and but yeah, and I did read the cop one, but it's I mean for me it's between cop or Comfort that's got to go.
I'd rather
I,
Comfort though, personally.
I would rather keep cop and get rid of Comfort,
Yeah.
yes. But do we want to touch on anything more in the draft or
No, I think that's good for the draft.
I'm
Um,
honestly at this point I'm hoping if I'm all for all steam ahead for him to trade this 13th overall pick
yeah,
as part
I
of
I agree,
it.
but unless we go big, and he knows we can go big in free agency, then yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So that takes us to trade rumors. So there has been rumors this week of Noah Dobson potentially being available and potentially Detroit being one of the possible destinations. The problem is you have to give up quite a bit to get Noah Dobson, and then you have to pay Noah Dobson. So would he fit in well? Yeah, he would. Would I give up Axel Sandin Pellikka for him? Not a chance.
Well, you got to think the Islanders if like it sounds like they're not openly making him available, but they are taking and listening or taking offers and listening to offers, I should say, for Dobson. So that tells me because as first overall, they're probably going to be drafting Matthew Schaefer and not Michael Misa, right?
Right.
So that they have their future bona fide superstar defenseman in Matt Schaefer with the number one overall pick. Yes, and their asking price, I would imagine you're going to be looking at, they would be looking at a Sandy Pellikka and or a Simon Edmondson.
Yeah, not a
Um,
chance.
so let's just say it's Sandy
Not a
Pellikka
chance.
plus another high-end prospect and probably a draft pick,
Yeah.
realistically. Um, but yeah, no, I'm not willing to part with that. I don't think Steve Yzerman's going to be parting with Axel Sandy Pellikka. That guy, to me, is probably untouchable at this point, and he
Yeah.
hasn't even set foot in the NHL. And like you said, the rumors are out there that Noah Dobson's seeking a $10 to $11 million per year kind of contract. Absolutely hell not. I'm not paying him $10 or $11 million. He's good, but he's not worth that. Even with the rising cap, I'm not willing to pay $10 or $11 million for Noah Dobson.
Yeah, I agree.
Would I pay him nine,
Yeah,
eight to nine?
I'd pay him nine. I
Similar
would definitely pay him nine.
similar range of cider, like
Yeah,
anywhere in that 8 to 9 range.
yeah,
I'd consider that, but again, what's the asking price with regards to the trade?
yeah.
If you want to throw in a Bergeron, um, and obviously plus plus plus, then I'd be willing to talk.
You would probably have to talk Bergeron, Danielson, and a first.
Or Bergeron, Danielson, Wallinder,
Yeah,
something along those
something like
lines.
that.
Yeah,
I would entertain that. I don't know
I
if
would
I
entertain
would
that,
do it.
but you'd have to
Um,
negotiate a contract with him
yes,
as the trades kind of
yes,
being.
yeah, and that does happen.
Yeah. Yep.
The next rumor, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but there is rumors that Dallas is exploring Jason Robinson being moved. Again, I think You have to give up a lot to get him.
And he's due for a
He's
raise.
due for a raise, and
Isn't he? Yeah, his contract. Yeah, I think. Let me confirm that though, bud. But yeah, keep talking. Yeah, I
he's a
think.
highly skilled player.
Yep.
He would definitely make our offense better. But what are you going to have to give up to get him? That's what it comes. That's what it comes down to at this point of the rebuild. Like we're vouching for these trades. We want a big trade, impactful trade to happen. But there's certain prospects that you do not want to trade.
Yeah.
And that's the fine line that Eiserman is going to have to walk on, and I'm sure he is walking on. In his head, he probably knows. Okay, these are the guys who I might have to look at trading to get something decent in return. But these are the guys that doesn't like unless I'm getting Connor Bedard or that type of player, then I'm not trading them. Because I'm telling you right now, offensively, 5, 6 years from now, Axel Sandin Pellikka could be a top 3 defenseman in the NHL. That's how
He's got
good
the.
I. That's how high of a ceiling I think he has, and I think Steve Eiserman sees that too. So you're not going to get rid of that, especially
No.
knowing like Patrick Kane's only going to play here for another couple of years, right? Like, potentially. We'll get to that in a bit, but Patrick Kane runs our power play. It runs through him. The only guy around here with potential to run our power play going forward is Axel Sandin Pellikka. So you
Yep.
go and trade him, not good, not good. So, anyways, that's that.
Jason Robertson and here. Okay, so crazy thought here. I was thinking about this today. So Jason Robertson's currently at 7.75 million per year, and his contract expires in the 2026 season. So then that's his RFA status when it expires. So obviously at that point, he's going to be entering the prime of his career. He's going to be looking at a big contract because this contract he's currently on is 4 years. So, you know,
Yeah.
you're probably looking at if his production keeps going, he's going to be north of probably 9, 10 million
Well, especially with the cap going
at
up.
least,
Mm-hmm.
if not way more, right? So and then like you said, the cost to acquire him. But this was my crazy thought. What if Dallas they were able to sign Mikko Rantanen at 12 million per season, which on the open market he could have probably got Mitch Marner money that we anticipate 14, 15 million, but no state tax. If they're looking to move out Robertson, get a haul back, whether it's for picks or prospects, what if they're making room for Mitchie Marner? That's something to think about.
When you look at Dallas's cap situation, though, they are tight.
They are,
They are
but
very tight.
we've
I
seen
know. I know.
Jim Nill's a magician.
I know.
There's been other GMs in this league that find a way to maneuver through a
Yeah.
tight cap situation. But anyhow, let's keep going.
Did you want to talk about the 2 trades that happened? That I was sitting there wondering, where's Steve?
Well, the first one was Trevor Zegras. I mean, that's been rumored for a year and
Oh,
a half.
yeah. Yeah.
So Trevor Zegras, ceiling is high still on him. He's got tons of talent, kind of like a Patrick Kane style player. I think he does probably have a bit of ego issues, and he wanted out of Anaheim, and his production went down last year. But still, for a player that's that young on a decent cap hit, only 1 year left on his contract, he only went for Ryan Paling, and I can't remember what the other pick was. It wasn't a high pick, a
No, it wasn't. It
second,
was like a second
third.
or third. I think it
But
was a
like I
third.
see, yeah, I see that trade, and I'm like, and Ryan Paling is no superstar
No.
roster player,
No.
and I'm like, okay, Steve, okay, that's one trade that flew over your head. Okay, that's one. The second one, JJ Paterka from Buffalo, young
That would have been a
player.
big pickup.
Yep, young player who he's got a high ceiling. German player, probably would have fit in well with the locker room given Mo Seider being German. Goes to Utah. Utah gives up Michael Kesselring, good kind of steady fourth, fifth defenseman. So Michael Kesselring plus Doan, Shane Doan's son, who is kind of similar to Shane, but kind of a gritty style player, young player. But still, when I looked at the value that was going back to Buffalo, I was like, okay, Steve, that's strike two. That's trade two that I would have considered for sure.
Yeah.
And then they signed him immediately. Utah signed him to an 8-year extension at
Yeah.
$7.75 million per season. So a lot of people might say right now that contract is overpaying, but that's a
Wow.
guy that he hasn't even come close to reaching
Yeah.
his ceiling. He came off 27 goals last year.
Yeah.
That guy could very well be a 40 goal scorer.
Just another reason, like, why Buffalo is laughed at a lot across the league. Like, what a horrible trade for them, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I don't know what
The
they're
circus
doing.
continues in
Like,
Buffalo.
so, and that, I didn't even mention this when we were talking before this. That leads me to Byram, because again, you're hearing rumors of him wanting out of Buffalo, and at the trade deadline, there was talks of him possibly to Detroit. That could be
Left
a
defenseman.
trade worth exploring if you're Steve Yzerman. Like, these guys are not happy in Buffalo, and Buffalo clearly has no idea what they're doing. So maybe we even trade Ben Sherratt or Justin Hall. There you go, Buffalo.
Well,
That could be something
and
Detroit could
he
explore.
fits the need perfectly for the Red Wings though as a left
Yeah.
shot defenseman, and he would be very good in the top four. He could play top pairing,
Here's
second
And I mean,
pairing.
this is going to kind of segue into the free agency talk here. Let's say we don't get Mitch Marner. Let's say our only offseason move is one top four defenseman left side. So let's say it's either a Byram or a Gavrikov.
Yep.
Okay, so
Or
at that point, our top four could potentially be Gavrikov,
Sider,
Edmondson, Sandin Pellikka. And then
if Sandy Pellikka makes the team, which
we're gonna say he is because he should.
Yep.
So, and then your bottom is Sherratt and Johansson, right? And then you know Gustafson's your extra, and Hall is, I don't care what it is. So
Speaking of that, hopefully
do
a
you
buyout.
think in that situation, so you have a way more stable decor?
Yep.
Do you think that alone gets them into the playoffs next year? Or do you think they still would need a Mitch Marner type player?
Looking at this past season, I think that gets them into the playoffs. Plus, you got to also consider that Todd McClellan's now coaching a full 82
that's
games.
what I mean. So as much
And
as want
he
Mitch
gets to
Marner,
develop this, because McClellan came out during the season when he was hired in December that it's hard to change all the systems mid-season. So now he's got a full training camp to actually implement his systems, and he's usually a defensive-minded coach.
Yeah.
I think they would get into the playoffs, but I will say that with caution. I think you still need to add more to not just become a team or not just be a team this year that squeaks in by 2 or 3 points. Like, if I'm Steve Yzerman, I want to make the playoffs by, a sizable margin.
Let me tell you, as a season ticket holder, I want them to make playoffs by March 1st so I can just sell all my games for the last month of the season and just use that for the playoffs. Like,
yeah, but
selfishness.
But if I'm Steve Yzerman, centennial year, haven't made the playoffs since 2016. I think if you added a guy like Bowen Byram or Gavrikov to round out your top four, you will probably get into the playoffs, because you also got to keep in mind other teams taking steps back. Toronto likely is going to be taking a step back. Yes, they're going to make the playoffs, but they're not going to be the same powerhouse offensively in the regular season that they have been the last few years.
Well,
Mitch Marner.
let me tell you. Sorry.
I was going to say, so Boston now is obviously taking a step back as well, right? And we know they didn't make it this past year, but Florida's going nowhere. Tampa's still making playoffs. Who am I thinking? I think Washington will probably have a step back.
I think they will.
But I think in addition to that top four defenseman acquisition, I think you need to add something up front, at least.
I agree.
And that could be a Nikolai Ehlers type player.
Yeah.
So
let's say they added Nikolai Ehlers and Gavrikov. What grade would you give Yzerman for the offseason?
I think it's a solid A.
I think it's a B
I would say B
plus.
plus.
I'd say B
Sorry, B
plus.
plus.
Okay.
A minus,
I'm a
B
hard
plus.
marker. I'm a hard marker.
Yeah, school
Um,
teacher you.
like that definitely makes them a playoff team. Um, but like you still have the problem of Patrick Kane retiring in a couple years, right? Like that's Patrick Kane under Todd McClellan last season was on pace for 95 points. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he does this year under McClellan for the entire season.
Yep.
And again, you can't replicate his creativity and like
Well,
what I do in the off season is I sit there and I watch YouTube highlights, and again, I get mesmerized watching Patrick Kane with that puck. It is just
yeah.
unbelievable. And if they don't get Murner in the off season, they have to figure out what they're going to do long term for a skilled forward on this team.
Yeah, and another name to look out for a good top four defenseman, good skater and big body. I really like the likes of Keandre Miller from the Rangers. 6'4", 6'5", fluid skater, defenseman, puck mover, physical.
Yeah,
He would be another guy I would welcome with open arms for
yeah,
the Red Wings. He would fit in perfectly. Also goes along with the size that we already have. Sider at
yeah,
6'4", 6'5", right? You got
yeah,
Edmonton at 6'6", 6'7",
yeah,
and then Keandre Miller, and all three of those can move the puck. Three of those guys can move the puck. Not to mention Sandy Pellica and what he's going to bring.
yeah.
So I think and then with the Ehlers, you add a 60 to 70 point guy who could score goals.
Yeah.
I think I'd give a B plus. I wouldn't be upset with that offseason.
No, I would be happy because that would be impactful change. Like what I don't want is some stupid patch job with like another Ben Sherratt type signing. Like let's fill it up. Like no, we need to make it so that we can bump guys like Ben Sherratt down to where they need to be because
And
that will
bump
make us a
guys
better
like
team.
Gustafson out of the lineup, and hopefully
Yeah,
Hall is bought out in the next little bit here. That's our buyout candidate. Everyone says Tarasenko. I think our buyout candidate needs to be Justin Hall.
but I feel like
We
he
have
would
too
have
many.
bought them out by now. I have a bad feeling they're not.
Well, we'll see. So by the way, the buyout window goes till June 30th, which is next Monday at 5 p.m. And that's the buyout window.
Yeah.
We'll see. Still got some days ahead.
Yep.
So
I do expect. I think by June 30th at the earliest. At the latest, we'll get word that Patrick Kane will have re-signed with the Red Wings. I think that's coming. They'll probably wait till right after the draft and they'll announce it.
I'm way more confident he
Yeah,
resigns this year
way
than he
more.
did last year.
I read a stupid article the other day that maybe he'll reunite with Jonathan Toews in Winnipeg. Why the hell would Patrick Kane move his family to Winnipeg? Have you ever been to that trashy city? Like, come on, it's horrible.
Last summer, we were nervous because some of his comments were a bit misleading
Yeah,
about the future of his career. But he has openly said he loves DeBrincat, loves the original six, loves the history of Detroit, loves the arena, loves the fans, and family is a huge part of his decision making.
yeah,
He's staying in
100%.
Detroit, so that'll happen, yes, over the next
Yeah,
few days.
yeah. The last bit of news, which is a nice surprise. Actually, any Red Wings fan listening needs to do this. You can vote on what will be the Center Ice logo next year at the LCA. There's because you've seen the new Centennial logo, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So one of them is like that, but then the other one is with the Centennial logo, but with Hockeytown written across it, like it used to be at the Joe.
bring
Big
it back.
Hockeytown letters.
Love it.
Way better. Like there's no everybody I'm reading online is going for Hockeytown logo. We need that back at Center Ice because we've not been good ever since we lost it. So
Yeah,
let's get it back. I know I voted for it. I'm gonna go on my other
I
emails
got
and
I got
vote.
to do that too.
um, I'm pretty confident that will be the logo. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Love
And
that.
I honestly, like, as excited as I am that it's summer break finally, September 23rd is our first preseason game.
But who's counting?
Well,
Who's counting the days?
I'm like in the middle. I'm pretty excited, but I'm excited for summer too.
You know what I'm excited for, and also very anxious? Tuesday, which is
Oh,
July 1st, which I always describe as a hockey fan's like Christmas day.
yeah. Yeah, screw
Anticipating
Canada
what
Day.
your
It's NHL free agency
antici-
day.
anticipating what your team's like general manager is going to do
Yeah.
to beefing up the squad. Um, I'm just saying I'm cautious because we've had so many free agencies the last few years where we thought Eisman was going to make a splash and it was
Yeah.
just a letdown.
The difference this year is like I said earlier, they're at this point where they're on the cusp. They're in the middle of the pact. If they want to get out of the middle, they have to make a splash.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I know,
not a minor splash, just a
I
big splash.
understand. There's 32 teams in the NHL, so it's not going to be easy to convince a guy like Marner. But you got to be a salesman. You have to convince him to come. You have to do what it takes. Maybe you pay him $14 million. 50. I'd pay him $15 million.
Yep.
No question. That alone solidifies your team. Marner, 100-point guy, 102 points he got this past season. They are guaranteed to make the playoffs if they sign Mitch Marner. Like, no question. No question.
They could play terrible defensively and still make it.
Yes.
They could do nothing on the back end. And
Now
still
imagine a scenario where they sign Marner and Gavrikov.
Oh, that's an A plus. That's an A plus plus.
Imagine a scenario where they sign those two and the Leafs also lose Tavares. There's no doubt in my mind we surpass the Leafs in the standings. No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, it's all wishful thinking, and we're probably not going to get everything we want, but that's what makes free agency so special, because there is the potential it could happen. And I have to hold on to that.
Here's my thinking. Selfishly, I do think I do want Marner to sign with the Red Wings, and if that's a $14-15 million price tag, do it. Do I think there's a chance? Absolutely. It's an original 16. It sounds like he's made it clear he's done with Toronto officially today.
Done with Canada.
Redshirting living, and he wants to play in the States. So an American team, close to home still, down the 401. Original six, the team that's on the rise. He knows there's a good GM there with Steve Yzerman. Tons of history. He'd get to play with Patrick Kane, right? Lucas Raymond, brand new arena, Little Caesars Arena, or newish arena, I should say.
And you know what?
But I will say, something about this situation. I have a gut feeling he's going to sign somewhere warm, somewhere with no state tax, whether that's a Dallas if they can shed cap, a Florida, Vegas. I just have a funny feeling of that.
One thing I actually just thought of. In Toronto, he's always this guy who gets hated on because of the playoffs.
Yep.
Despite, like, Matthews not doing anything. But you know what? Some part of him has to know if he signs in Detroit, he'd be a hero just for getting us into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? And the Detroit media and the fan base does not have the pressure that the Toronto media and the stupid Leafs Nation puts on their players. Like, that's gotta be in the back of his mind. Like, I feel like he grew up eating, breathing, and sleeping hockey. Why the hell would you want to go play in Dallas, where hockey's like a second thought? Like, sorry, but it is. Part of me just really thinks all this talk is just talk. He's going to actually sit down and talk to GMs on Tuesday, and Steve Yzerman has work to do. And I'm just... I will instantly... I will be the first Red Wings fan to buy a Mitch Marner jersey if he signs in Detroit.
Yeah, and there's no doubt Steve Yzerman's going to get in the room with them and have a very convincing story for Marner. And I agree with all your points. I don't want to get my hopes up. But I also think, like you kind of said, I think, yes, it's a passionate fan base in Detroit, a lot of history of success. I think he would actually flourish in a team like Detroit where there's some media pressure, but it's not like toxic media like it is in Toronto, or it's not super intense. I think he would actually thrive when he's out of that kind of Toronto toxic
And
spotlight.
and the other thing is in Toronto, who was the best defenseman? Morgan Riley.
Riley.
He sucked in the playoffs. His advanced analytics of puck possession numbers were atrocious. So it's kind of hard to do good when your top defenseman can't even get you guys pucks.
Yeah.
So in Detroit, we're not going to have a problem with our defensemen in the playoffs because they are big, they can skate, and they can win their battles. So and they can transport pucks. Our defense, even though it's not done being rebuilt, is designed for the playoffs. So I mean, again, these are just all points that Yzerman has to make. Like plus, 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 plus. Just fucking sign on the line.
Yeah, just
Anyways.
please sign Mickey.
Yeah.
And he looked good in red playing for.
He did. I
Florida.
thought it looked really good.
So we gotta. Okay, we'll move on. Obviously, our number one priority or want is Mitch Marner. We talked about Gavrikov coming from LA. He's a free agent. He's probably due for a raise here. Detroit currently has $21 million in cap space, pending any buyouts. So if they were to buy out a guy like Justin Hall, which is probably the likely candidate if they choose to buy a player out, that would provide like $2.2 million of savings. So essentially that would bump them up to 23.2-ish million in cap space, which is tons of room. But yeah, that would, if they needed that cap space to get a guy like Gavrikov and Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
We talked about Nikolai Ehlers with Winnipeg Jets, bona fide goal scorer, solid guy that, outside of defense being their primary need to solidify their top four, we would say top six scoring, top six forward, right? To help solidify that the top two lines. So Nikolai Ehlers would be a great fit. I don't know if he's going to be coming to Detroit or not. I would probably say no. Brad Marchand is there, but let's be honest, probably going to be staying in Florida somehow, if not going elsewhere. And then everyone's hopeful about Sam Bennett and Aaron Ekblad. Chris, me and you talked about it.
Sam Bennett literally said, he basically told a bunch of Florida fans he will
staying
be
here for
Florida.
8 years.
Yeah,
he was halfway corked celebrating the Stanley Cup and said, I'm staying here for another effing 8 years. So I do see Florida keeping him, and then I do see them keeping Ekblad.
Yeah.
Why would you leave?
Yeah.
No state tax, unreal team. They're going to be unreal again next year. Great coach, no media pressure, unreal weather.
Yeah.
And then other free agents, notable free agents. That anyone else?
I think we touched on everything. I think we just have to go into the draft and see what happens. Go into free agency, see what happens, and
well, the best thing is the draft. People don't realize, fans don't realize, it's not just about the draft and trading up, trading down. There's so many conversations being had by general managers at that draft, not just regarding the draft, regarding trades, RFAs. There's a lot of conversations that are held at these drafts outside the actual drafting itself.
Yeah.
So I think Steve Yzerman will probably be pretty busy on that phone tomorrow night for the draft. And let's hope if he does end up trading the 13th overall pick as part of a package, hey, I am all steam ahead.
One other trade that we didn't touch on that, again, it's been in the news off and on. Patterson for Vancouver. That organization is another one that they are in a tough spot. They know Quinn Hughes is going to leave them to go play with his brothers. And Patterson's been inconsistent. It'd be interesting to see what the Red Wings would have to give up to get him. He's
his
Swedish.
value's down, though.
His value's down. This would be the time to do it. If Vancouver calls, this would be the time to inquire. See
did you see his point production last year?
Yeah.
It significantly went down. So that brings his value down, and not to mention he carries a hefty cap hit. I believe he's at 11 mil per year. So, and the fact that he's kind of wanting a change and it's
Yeah.
known
Yeah.
that Vancouver wants to move him, that brings his value down too.
And he's Swedish.
I mean,
So, I mean, Pettersson, Larkin, Casper, top 3 centermen. That's pretty good.
or
Potentially.
if you put one of those on the wing.
Yeah. And then you have Danielson. Like, you probably would have to give Danielson up in that trade.
Yep.
Which, fine.
But if I were the Wings, though, I'd be looking at them also eating some cap. Even though we have the cap space, let's say we strike out on Marner,
Yeah.
11 million, I would still want them to eat some cap, which we might have to give a little bit up more for them to retain some salary.
Yeah.
Vancouver to retain salary, but yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that. A young player as well that
Yeah.
fits the
Yeah.
age
That's
of the
the timeline, yeah. So, I mean, we will watch, we will read lots of speculative articles.
Steve
And
Yzerman better do something.
We'll either be really happy or really pissed off. That's the way it goes. Hopefully, this is the year where we're happy.
I know.
So-
I'm trying not to get my hopes up because I've been let down so many times in the past.
Yeah.
Under the Yzer plan.
Well, this is Yzerman's chance to make good on things, and people have a short memory. Like,
I just
you know what?
just thought of something. How funny would it be tomorrow at the draft? Then you know how they kind of go table by table.
No,
like,
they're not doing that. They're not in one location this year.
Oh, okay, but I'm just saying. Imagine if they were, and that's news to me. I didn't realize that. Could you imagine if they went table by table and then they go to and the Detroit Red Wings and then Steve Yzerman has a Red Wings jersey and it's got Marner on the back?
Yeah. that emoji where he has like the laser eyes. Yeah. The captain.
Oh, that's great.
The captain.
Draper's got like an Ekblad jersey or whatever, Gavrikov jersey for free agency.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, but yeah, we'll wait and see. Hey,
Yeah.
still excited nonetheless.
Yeah. You know what I'm excited for? To sleep in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Happy summer.
Lucky you.
67 days. 67, isn't that? What? Oh, that's the last time the Leafs won a Stanley Cup. Losers.
58 years.
But hey, this is the year.
Yeah.
Ah, frick. All right, well, that's all we have to say for now.
That's it.
Hopefully, our next episode is filled with joy and nothing but.
I totally agree. I hope free agency is very, very productive and trade scenarios, buyout. Hopefully, Justin Hall gets the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mitch, if you're listening, just sign in Detroit, man. We will make you feel welcome.
Absolutely. You'll
We'll be cheering from center ice.
We'll be your first two jersey holders.
Yeah.
I will be buying a Marner jersey, and so will Chris.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
All right. See you after free agency. Have a good start to your summer.
All right. Cheers.